Hey there, everyone. Mychal Bryan here from the Oraculos School of Astrology. And today I have yet again the amazing privilege to sit in conversation with my dear student and friend, Ms. Eboni Bledsoe of Homegirl Astrology. Hey there, Eboni.
Hi, Michael. Glad to be back.
I'm glad to have you back. Now, I realize that when I say that, it's kind of confusing just because I'm not in conversation with you. It's more like you're in conversation with me since you're the one asking the questions. So we have to figure out another way how to do it in the future. But today, Ebony is going to be asking me some questions about our upcoming Foundations of Classical Astrology program, which begins this September 8th. So for those of you who are interested in becoming professional astrologers and great at that, then please do check out our website at www.oraculosastrology.com and check out our programs over there. So, Ebony, okay. I'll stop
I'll
talking.
take it from here.
I'll stop talking. And I'll let you take it away.
So, this Foundations of Classical Astrology, please tell me about this course. What can folks expect from the class, and who are the types of folks who should join?
Awesome. The Foundations of Classical Astrology, aka FOCA, is the bread and butter course at Oraculos. This is the foundations of everything that we teach. So even our Kabbalistic Tarot program and our higher level astrology programs, they're all based on this Foundations of Classical Astrology program. And what this basically is a program where you learn not just the what of astrology, but also the how of astrology and the why of astrology. And even though that question about the why of astrology is something that is debatable, I think it's important for astrologers coming into this field or non-astrologers coming into this field to know that these questions have been asked for thousands and thousands of years. And so what's really special about FOCA is that it allows people to root themselves in the larger philosophical framework in which astrology exists. Because what I found, especially for me and within my practice, is that after being able to know the why of astrology and being able to have that as the basis of my own practice, it's allowed me to practice astrology with greater confidence, with greater clarity, and greater ease. And what I find the students saying who take FOCA is, Mychal, before I was studying astrology and I was bouncing off the walls and there was so much information and there was all of the different pathways of astrology to enter astrology from. But after taking FOCA, I feel calm. After taking FOCA, I feel a sense of peace. And that piece for me, Ebony, is really one of the most important things that an astrologer can have, because more than astrologers, and this is something I say to you all as my students all the time, more than astrologers, we are organizers of information. And it isn't that the chart has too little information, and this is a quote I got from an astrologer by the name of Robert Corey. It's not that the chart has too little information, it's that the chart has too much information. And oftentimes people enter astrology and they study all of the things and still never have a means of organizing their relationship to the information within astrology. So what FOCA allows astrologers to have is the ability to organize their relationship to the astrology that they practice, so that no matter what system of astrology you want to later on place yourself in, you have the foundations of how to be clear within whatever it is you know, which in turn causes you to be clearer in terms of the readings that you give to other people. And it also allows you to find the essence of what it is that chart is saying, as opposed to being distracted by the thousands of things that any chart can say.
Absolutely. I definitely think FOCA supports folks overcoming the overwhelm that comes with astrology. I will ask you, just there are lots of folks who come from lots of different types of astrology. They may have their own practice already. Maybe they're an evolutionary astrologer, maybe they're a modern psychological astrologer. What type of astrology do you practice at Oraculos, particularly within FOCA?
Awesome question, Ebony. Within FOCA, our bones are grown through traditional astrology. And I speak about this growth of bones because the bones correspond to Saturn within traditional astrology. And so we build this scaffolding of what astrology is based on the back of traditional astrology. And then we begin to flesh out that understanding by exploring some of the things that aren't necessarily traditional. However, every student at Oraculos has a firm foundation in medieval and Renaissance astrology, what the planets mean from the perspective of traditional Hellenistic and even pre-Hellenistic astrology. We move through Ptolemy, we move through Dorotheus, we move through Paulus Alexandrinus and Olympiodorus. We move through the founders of what we consider classical astrology to be, and we show how these thoughts can be traced through time until they finally root us in the Renaissance period, where we really begin to flesh out the practice of astrology. So from a philosophical perspective, everything that we do at Oraculos is based on ancient astrology in the fullest sense of that term from a Western perspective. And then we ultimately, at the end of the semester, find ourselves pleasantly equipped to practice Renaissance astrology. So the astrology at Oraculos can be called traditional astrology, but it's also traditional with the sense of moving forward towards where astrology has us now, and really dwelling in that sweet spot of Renaissance astrology, where we really began to pay more attention to some of the concepts that later on got fleshed out in the modern era.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you've been talking about tarot more recently, so I do have a tarot-related question. If you had to identify a card that would represent the student that you would like to see in your class, which card would that be?
That's a wonderful question. I personally love the pages because all of the pages correspond with the earthy parts of whatever element they represent. So the page of Wands is the earthy part of fire, and the page of Cups is the earthy part of water, and the page of Swords is the earthy part of air, and the page of Pentacles is the earthy part of earth. So there's a practicality when it comes to the pages that has to do with the practical establishment of the potency of that element within the world. And that's what we do at Oraculos. We practically establish our students in the potency of astrology within the 21st century. And the card that I think allows us to do this most of all of those four cards would possibly be the Page of Wands. And it's because within the Page of Wands, we find this sense of that character of the page measuring himself against something much larger than himself and realizing that he is just an aspirant on a much larger path. And I think that quality of the aspirational seeker is a really important thing when it comes to learning astrology, because we do have to acknowledge that our astrology allows us to stand on the shoulders of giants. And we do have to acknowledge that insofar as becoming great astrologers are concerned, we do want to measure ourselves against the giants who came before us. But even beyond the people who we look up to within this field, there's something more non-tangible, something more numinous, and something more spiritual within the heart of astrology itself. And that is the thing that an astrological practice calls us towards. It calls us to this understanding of the wheel of life with such clarity and such specificity that we can realize that there is indeed something beyond the wheel. And that is what I think is most important for me within my own astrological practice, the awareness that astrology gives me the ability to describe the wheel very, 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 very well, sometimes painstakingly, concretely well. But the reason why we invest in this ability to be able to describe the events of our Earth with such clarity through the perspective of astrology is so that we can plant the seed of awareness within each and every client and each and every student that, behold, there is something beyond the wheel. There is something beyond the material things of this world. There is something beyond the specific stories that have made you who you are. And even the stories that have made you who you are exist on the forefront of a larger spiritual backdrop of truth. And if a student can come into the space of Oraculos with the intention of learning astrology with that level of humility, essentially, and that level of being humble, even though they may be proficient in knowledge, even if they've studied for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, if a student can come into Oraculos with the desire to know, with the desire to understand the wheel of life to the point where they can one day begin to ask questions about what lays beyond the wheel, then that's a student who I'm interested in helping. That's a student who I'm interested in teaching. And if a student doesn't have that clarity, and if a student doesn't have that internal sense of awe at all times within their own self-reflection, but also within the study of astrology, then they're probably not the right student for Oraculos. At Oraculos, we attract people who are eager and hungry to learn, who are eager and hungry to be in a community of learners, but who are also eager and hungry to know more about themselves through this practice of astrology. And those people are the ones who stick around. And it's not about where you came from before or what you knew before. It's that you're allowing yourself to show up within this moment and be humble enough to receive, because we're all walking on this road of awe together insofar as astrology is concerned.
That was beautifully said. You actually gave me chills a little bit. I definitely subscribe to that. And I think that coming with an empty cup is the important mindset to have. You know, you can't fill up your cup if it's full, right? So you have to pour that out and just come with that beginner's mindset. So in terms of just logistics, what's the format of the class that folks can expect?
One of the things that's really special about the education we provide at Oraculos is the fact that all of our classes are live. And that for me is a really important thing, because I come through several lineages that go back hundreds of years that have to do with mentorship and apprenticeship, and not just within the context of astrology, but also within the Reiki that I practice and the yoga that I practice, and the larger spiritual systems that I belong to are systems that are passed hand to hand. And so for me, it's my duty as a teacher of the astrologers of tomorrow to also pass this information hand to hand. I have no interest in giving people pre-recorded classes of a class I taught last year or even last month, because the needs of the students that come up within a class setting are specific to those specific students. And I can't project that the needs of my past students will be the needs of the students currently coming in, because every student that comes to astrology represents a different type of energy that's currently within the larger astrological zeitgeist. Every student coming into astrology is coming in at different levels of information, and there are different things that are going to be in vogue at different moments of astrological time. So some students may be coming into astrology at a time when perfections are the cat's meow and everyone's talking about that, and that becomes the starting point for that conversation. Some students may come into astrology at a time when degree theory is the cat's meow, and that becomes a place that we have to start from. So every class at Oraculos is taught live, because I need to have an awareness of the students who are learning from me, and also the students who at the end of the day are going to have a certificate with my name on it. So every single class is taught live twice a week. Within this format, our classes are going to be on Saturdays and Sundays, and classes are 2.5 hours each day, Saturday and Sunday. And we have students from all around the world who show up. We have students in North America. We have students who are showing up from Turkey. We have students who are showing up from the UK. We have students from all over who adjust themselves to that time so that they can be present. Our classes are usually around midday for the purpose of accommodating the various time zones of students that log in. And they're completely interactive. There's lecture, but there's also a lot of this back and forth questioning, because I need to hear what the students know. So that's really the format of the class. People sign in on Zoom, come to the classroom, and we speak amongst ourselves. I deliver a lecture, but at the same time, we have a greater moment of interaction where I can hear what the students are hearing so that I can know whether or not I'm teaching in a clear and an effective way.
And I will say that you never know what is going to come up in an Oraculos classroom. So what additional support do you offer outside of class meeting times for students who may need additional help?
This is a wonderful question, Eboni, because at Oraculos, no one gets left behind. And that's also part of why all of our classes are live, because I need to hear what the students know so that we at Oraculos can know how to take care of those students in the best way possible. So we have a mentorship program, and higher level Oraculos students mentor incoming students for the Foundations of Classical Astrology program. But similarly, when students graduate from the Foundations of Classical Astrology program, and if they choose to go to higher levels of study at Oraculos, like the practice of concrete astrology, then even those students are mentored by students ahead of them. So at Oraculos, it's really a family and a communal environment where everybody knows each other and where everybody supports each other. And everybody feels so grounded in the same body of knowledge that you use each other as references. But I too am also in the mix of all of that. So we organize mentorship meetings, we organize students to have pair meetings amongst themselves. And at the end of the day, every student at Oraculos graduates out of not only FOCA, but all of the Oraculos programs, feeling as if they're able to operate on the same level of excellence in astrology.
So just thinking ahead about folks who may have other questions that I haven't asked here, where can they go get more information about FOCA?
If students want to find out more information about the Foundations of Classical Astrology program, they can go and visit our website at www.oraculosastrology.com. Hit the programs tab, and it will be the very first thing that you see over there. FOCA is the foundation of our larger 2-year professional astrologers program that we offer at Oraculos. So if people want to find out more information about the entire program, you're more than welcome to do so there. But if you take FOCA, truthfully, you don't have to take anything else at Oraculos because FOCA is such a complete course within itself. So please go over to www.oraculosastrology.com. Check out our programs page, click on FOCA, and sign up because FOCA is truly one of the greatest courses that I offer. And if everything else were moved off of the books, and if there were only one thing I could give to the world consistently, it would be FOCA, because I think that what FOCA does for an astrologer is it sets you up to have a lifetime of greatness within your own astrological practice. And I'm so happy to share that with people.
Right. And I heard from a little birdie that there may be an open house for FOCA.
Yes, there is definitely an open house coming up for FOCA. We are going to do 2 of them. We're going to do one open house at the end of this month, August 2021, and we'll have another open house at the beginning of September, the first weekend of September. And you can find out more information for that over on our website as well by checking out our events page.
Lovely. I'm so excited for the folks who joined. FOCA is such an experience. I definitely will say I thought I was going into a cute little astrology class. You know, I was just going to semi-pay attention, but nope, it was none of that. Definitely was required some substantial study, but it wasn't overwhelming at all. Definitely learned so much from it, and I'm obviously thankful and still here. So.
Awesome.
Thank you for your time today, Mychal.
And thank you so much, Eboni, for the wonderful work that you do and for being willing to sit here in this space with me. For those of you who haven't checked out Eboni's work already, please go and check out her website at www.homegirlastrology.com because I'm really super proud of the work that you're doing over there, Eboni, and keep up all of the amazing things.
Thank you. Yes, please visit us.